please don't buy any unibody MacBook Pro. I'm going to explain why in this video. This is my mid-2012. I got this for $100 off eBay. There's a keyboard issue, and that's why it was so cheap. It was claimed untested, but I doubt that it actually was. One, you're going to have to replace a lot of parts in it. So, by default, these things have 4 GB of RAM and a 500 GB HDD. That means boot up times are going to be terrible, multitasking is going to be terrible, and the risk of a failing hard drive. So, to fix that, you have to get a SSD of some sort. If you want the same amount of storage that you had before, you're going to have to shell out at least probably $45. And for the RAM, RAM is pretty cheap nowadays, but it's still going to be a bit of an extra cost. Then, if you really want better performance, you're going to have to repaste it. Pretty much what that means is you're going to have to take the motherboard out and reapply the thermal paste. That's about an hour-long process for some people. For me, it's like a 15-minute long process since I've taken apart lots of these older MacBooks. But, yeah. So, then we're going to have to deal with MagSafe. And, oh, just hit my camera. Anyways, the reason I say deal with MagSafe is this port I actually had to replace because MagSafe 1 really isn't that reliable. These ports will get dirty and all, and after a while, they'll just break. And then you have to buy these MagSafe cables, which Apple still sells for like $60 or something. And I ended up buying one. And of course you can get them on eBay for like $12, but yeah. MagSafe is cool, but MagSafe 2 is so much more, I guess, reliable. Then you have to deal with these ports. The Ethernet port, most people didn't use, so it's going to be full of dust and stuff. So sometimes it won't work, sometimes it'll work. It's really a hit or miss here. Then you're going to have to deal with the SD card slot, which, again, kind of a hit or miss. You're either going to get one that works, or you're just going to get one that's broken. Since this one is broken, and I've ran into multiple computers with broken SD card slots. And again, the dust thing applies to both FireWire and Thunderbolt. Only ports that people really used on this was MagSafe, obviously, and the USB 3 ports. People love to mention how this has USB 3, even though, in reality, any laptop from 2012 should have USB 3, and the fact that this computer has USB 3 is, just normal. And in all honesty, any old HP junk book or any Dell Latitude, what's it called, E something, like E6 or E7 something, 7500, whatever, will have USB 3, because this was common for 2012, because USB 3 was the future. Everybody had it. So that's why you shouldn't really be bragging about USB 3. Now we have 3.1 and all. On the next side of the computer, we have this. This is the CD drive or DVD drive. I think this is rewritable. It should be. And why am I going to complain about this? Because, in my opinion, it's wasted space. I know that in 2012 they needed something with a DVD drive, so I'm not going to give Apple the problem. I'm going to give the people who say DVDs are still useful a problem. Just buy a DVD burner, writer, whatever, a USB to DVD thing off of Amazon for $5 to $15, like $15, rip it onto a USB drive, and then, boom, you're good. You don't need a whole USB, or no, CD slot, which takes up a good, like, quarter of the computer, just for the odd chance you have to, install some software with a CD drive. Now, let's talk about upgradability. A lot of people like to praise this thing for upgradability, when, in reality, it's good that it has upgradability, and it's honestly really common for a 2012 computer, because if you look at something like a 2020 or whatever M1 MacBook Pro, this has everything you'll need, really. With the 2012, you're going to have to go in, replace that hard drive, replace the RAM, replace whatever dead components there are. when on these newer MacBook Pros, you literally have it, and SSDs are fast. They are 256 gigabytes standard, which absolutely sucks. Apple, please fix that. 8 gigabytes of RAM standard, that's okay. But yeah, now let's talk about compatibility. macOS 11 is the current version of macOS, and before that it was 10.15, I believe. And this thing can only get 10.15. You can get 10.11 with a patcher, which is what I've done, and it runs pretty terribly. Now, let's talk about the fact that people recommend these computers to any old normal user. So, do you think that someone will really know how to take the thing apart without messing it up and replace all these parts in it, and then figure out how the patcher works and get all the kext files installed? Next, let's talk about the CPU. This has integrated graphics in the i5 3rd generation. The problem with that is the i5 3rd generation is now, I think, like 7 or 8 generations old? Yeah, I think it's 8 generations old, since we are on the 11th gen Intel processors now, Tiger Lake, and this is the 3rd gen, again. So, this is not really modern. This is gonna run some things, but for any games, combining that with the integrated graphics, you're not going to be able to run pretty much any game, or any semi-modern game. I'd say anything past 2016 is just a no-go completely. And then the next issue with this is, in the future, with NVMe drives and all, how far is SATA 3 going to go? This computer uses SATA 3 interface, or the SATA 3 interface, I mean, and SATA is only going to go so far. In my main PC, I have a Ryzen 7 3700X, and I also have an NVMe drive. Using these two computers, even though they're both using SSDs, it feels like an entirely different scenario, or situation, or use, because it's just the simple fact that NVMe and SATA are just completely different. And SATA drives like this one are not too fast anymore. They were fast in their day, but now they've been replaced. And going into the future, how far can these really go? And then, also going into the future, how many macOS versions will you be able to patch on this with the graphics acceleration issues and all? So, sadly, these computers are just kind of, going out of date day by day. And it feels way more useless than it was when I got this in early January. And I gave this computer a try as my main computer, like my main laptop. And this thing is good, but it's just not worth everything they've got to do. And then you'll get things like this with broken keyboards, or keyboards that are not reliable. And it's just a mess. So either buy a Retina, or just buy a new computer, a new MacBook, I mean, or whatever you're looking for, because these old MacBooks aren't going to go that far anymore. They're past their date, sadly. And I really wanted to use this computer since I love the design of these, and yeah, it sucks. I gave this computer a good chance, and sadly, they're just getting outdated. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.